Hey, what's up, guys? It looks like you picked Zerg, the bugs, okay? You picked the bugs. Don't turn the video off, okay? It's not cockroaches. They're cooler bugs. They're like ladybugs and dragonflies. And beetles. Stuff like that. Even though we have a unit called the roach, I swear it's not a cockroach. Okay. Shh. Guys, shh. Stop. Yo, welcome to Bronze 3, first game of Bronze GM for Zerg. In this series, for this, we're going to be teaching you guys solid mechanics for Zerg. And overall, just what the hell you should be doing, okay? First things first, make a drone, okay? I want you to test yourself with speed. The second the game starts, have your mouse in the middle, circle it a little bit, get ready. Warm your shoulders up. Click the hatchery and hit SD as fast as you can. That is important. That's important. Okay, that is the only important thing you need to do right now. You can also hawk your hatchery. That's also cool. But make a drone, okay? And then as soon as you hit 100 minerals, make an overlord. We're going to need to do that. It's important as well. And then make a drone again. Zerg is the only race that you can make multiple things at the same time out of because you have these things called larvae. You do not want to waste a single second, if you can help it, on your larva not being made. So every time you have any available supply, you make that larva. Make that larva. Okay? Secondly, the build order for us initially is going to be, we're going to throw down a hatchery at 17 supply. So we're going to rip a drone off of one of our eggs when we hit 17, and we're going to go down here to our natural. We're going to build a hatchery. Right there. Also, it does matter if you build your hatchery off a little bit. This matters for every race. Never build your base off, as close as it can be to the minerals. Always build as close as you can. If you built it like right there, for instance, that would be terrible. You would just have inefficient mining. Now, build order is going to be for us, it's going to be 17, 18, 20. And what this means is we're going to be 17 supply up here. We make a hatchery. At 18 supply, we make a spawning pool. And at 20 supply, we're going to throw down our gas. So let's grab this drone and let's just throw down our gas. Easy peasy. And I don't care about your overlords here. Just be like, go over there. Normally, I'd tell you to scout. That doesn't come till later. We don't care about scouting right now. Not one bit. So now you can also see what I've done is I have clicked on my main hatchery. I hold shift. I click on this one. And I combine them, okay? That is, what's it called? I combined them in the same control group. So you can see hatcheries on 5 is 2. It's important. So now I don't have to look at either hatchery. I can just be like 5 SD, and suddenly I'm making drones out of both hatcheries. It's pretty convenient, pretty nice. One of the biggest things you want to do in StarCraft to make sure your build is very efficient is you want to make sure you're not wasting time mining. So the easiest thing to look for is just look at your numbers here, like gas counts and mineral counts. 16 out of 16, it's perfect. We match the number. 3 out of 3, it's perfect. We match the number. So rally to the new base. Then perfect. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay. And all we're doing right now is we're going 5 SD, 5 SD, 5 SD, 5 SD repeatedly because we want to spin our larva every time we can. And every once in a while, we're looking at our supply. And when we get kind of close to blocking, 5 SV, which is Overlord. And then go back to 5 SD, 5 SD, 5 SD. And now we're going to be throwing down a little bit of our unit buildings here because we have... With Zerg, the big one is you want to spin your larva, okay? Again, I've said that a couple times, but it is by far the most important one. Spin your larva. So all we're doing is we're spinning our larva, and we are going 5 SD, 5 SV, 5 SD, 5 SV, 5 SD, overlords and drones, overlords and drones, overlords and drones. Now, in terms of timing, okay? In terms of timing, we're injecting our bases every time we can. Every time we can inject our bases, we're also going to throw down a creep tumor with our other queen. Okay. And then behind that, we're going to take timings of proper things. And let me just explain what those are. 17 hatch, 18 pool, 20 gas. First 100 gas, you start a layer. It's right after your queen's done. Then you make a third queen on your second hatchery. With the same time you start a layer. Still all while making queens and overlords. Or sorry, while making drones and overlords. And then we once we've spent all of our larvae, we make a nice roach warren, a nice evo chamber. We can get our upgrades for these things, which is going to be range weapons and roach speed. And we're chilling. We're just doing this process over and over and over. It's again, you could fuck up everything. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mess up everything right now for just a second. Okay? I'm just gonna mess it up on purpose. Because it doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters here is getting in the habit of going like this. 5 SD 5 SD 5 SD 5 SD. Look at my queens. Inject. Inject. 5 SD 5 SD 5. And when I say SD, it's 5S hold D. 5S hold D. 5S hold D. The reason why you hold D is because you spend all your larvae that way. You don't tap it once. And look, my army is not the greatest. It's not huge. It's okay. I have 8 roaches. My drone count is amazing. It's enormous. We have an amazing drone count because all we've been doing is 5 SD. I just did it again. I don't care. I don't care, guys. It's crazy. It's cool. Now, okay, you can see it. Look at our money. We're like, oh man, we're getting a lot of money. Let's say you're the guy that gets a lot of money. Here's what you got to do, okay? Go to your main or something, and just go make a hatchery. Once you make this hatchery, select it, make sure it's selected, and hold Shift and hit 5. Suddenly, it puts this hatchery into your new control group, and now you have another hatchery to work with larvae. Now, we have a lot of drones here, guys. We have 32 drones here. So let's go. Let's switch gears now. Go 5SR. 5SR. That's it. Next thing we're going to do. We have 3 base economy, okay? We're going to be making a couple of buildings now. This is similar to what we did with Terran when we made Thors at this point. We're going to make a Hydralisk Den. We're going to make a second evolution chamber. And we're going to properly saturate the rest of our economy, and we're going to take another base. So grab some drones, send them to the gases, send them to the gases. Meanwhile, don't forget, let's make units, right? Look at the money, it's huge. Let's start making hydras now. And so now it's 5SH. You should always with Zerg be in the habit of going seriously, every like 5 to 10 seconds. Hatcheries, select larva, S. Key of unit you're going to make. H right now for Hydra. So 5 is my hatcheries. S Hydras. 5 S Hydras. Look at my queens. Inject. Inject. And inject. 5 S Hydras. I don't care if you have 1 larva or 20 larvae. You're gonna still do it. Next, remember what I said? Creep spread. Try your best every time you creep spread. At the same time, you also inject. 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 Let's grab 3 drones here and send them to my main gas because I did make that and there's nothing on it. So, then let's grab this last drone and send it over here because, once again, there's what's it called? A fresh base. Now look at our drone count. It's 67, guys. It's looking a bit weak. So we've kind of like gone into this mode where we've just made a lot of units. Let's go ahead and fix our drone count up a bit. Let's make drones all the way to like 85. Cool. We just did that. Now, let's once again go back to my bases and go inject. 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 85 drones, 85 workers is the new hotness I'm going to teach you guys. Okay? And did you think it was kind of cool how I could go like this and I get a live reading of my drone count in the top right? Or actually, the text kind of covers that a little bit. I apologize. But you can see it behind it. Damn, text is in the way. Okay, guess what, guys? We maxed out. Zerg is actually a little bit faster. Zerg is a little bit faster than Terran and Terran and Protoss. Oh my God, Zerg is amazing. But again, this is all possible because it's all possible because guess what? You can macro like a boss. Let's go, because you just make larva. This is what happens if you spin your larva. So let's go ahead and do this. A move, shift A move, shift A move, shift A move, shift A move. In case he has walls anywhere. Like we talked about with Terran. So again, well, if you haven't seen the Terran video, it's fine. I'll explain it again. We don't attack straight into his base because if he has a supply depot wall or any type of a building wall that connects one side to another, you can't actually move into his base properly. Your units will get really dumb. They will do things like run over here to the side because the AI gets bugged out because there's a wall there. We can see there's no wall here, so my units are fine. But yeah, there's usually a wall somewhere. So if you go here, if you were to go here, it prepares for a wall in the ramp. If you were to go here, it prepares for a wall in case it's in the front door. And if you go here, it prepares for a wall if there's one on the ramp. Now you can see my army just got completely decimated, right? You're like, ooh, I don't know about that vibe. 5SH. Guess what, guys? We're almost maxed again. Let's go back to this. Let's really take a moment now. Without explaining anything, let's take a moment to really fix our injects. So grab the queen, hold shift, and be like, inject, 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 inject. Grab the queen and the natural now, hold shift, inject, 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 inject. Go to my third, grab the queen, hold inject. Or hold shift, inject, 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 inject. Now, let's have a backup plan. Make an infestation pit. Let's also make a spire. Let's also grab 6 drones. And let's send them to my other base. We can grab 3 on that gas, 3 on that gas. Let's take 1 drone off. Let's make another base. Let's check all my things now. Base is good. Base is not good. Rip some drones off. Let's send them to my new base I just made and make a gas. This base, it's good. Check upgrades. Boom, boom. Cool beans. So now my hydras are going to be upgraded as well. Let's make another round of hydras. Where we are maxed again. And let's then also, once again, take another base. Really quickly check my drone count. 79. Now we're at 80. 80's okay. 80's fine. But remember what I said about creep spreading as well? Well, first of all, let's take a hive. Let's get ready to go hive. Let's inject, 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 and let's go for a nice creep spread. Creep. Creep. And we can throw a creep tumor down like right here as well. We'll just make a nice juicy creep tumor right here. Okay, we're maxed out again. Let's go like this, okay? This time around, we can see there's very likely going to be another thing going on, another base. Let's just do this. A move here. Shift, A move. 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 The whole time I'm just holding shift. I go like, I select my army, I hit A once, hold shift, click, 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 click. Let go of shift. That's all it is. Now my army's gonna do its thing. Whoops, I just recommanded it. My bad. A move, shift, click, 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 click. Let my army do its thing. Let's go back now while it's doing its thing to injecting, 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 and good. This base needs to be saturated. Let's throw some creep down. Creep, creep, creep. And let's, now that we're hive, let's go into a nice greater spire. Because this is going to give us like an option later on to fix things. Let's just say what's happening here is as well what's happening in your game. And you're like, good God, I have so much minerals. I'm maxed out and I have a lot of money. Go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't give a shit. Go for it. Go ham. The world is your oyster, guys. Look at my drone count now. 76. Let's make another like 9 drones. Now I'm back to 85. And then now my army is dead again. We can see nothing on the minimap. So let's change up our composition a tiny bit. Let's go like this. Let's make corruptors until we have 12. There's 8 in a row, and we went 1.5 rows. So now we have 12 corruptors. Those are going to finish in just a second. And also, Now that we're gonna start going corruptors, let's keep it really basic. Let's just make a decent amount of hydras. Okay, we'll mix the hydras up to like 170 supply. We're gonna save supply to make broodlords with, but we just made hydras and corruptors right now. Okay, easy. Now let's take a look at my bases. Inject. 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 While simultaneously we're also looking at, look at this red number on the hatchery. 16 out of 10, that's crap. Grab these extra drones and send them somewhere new. Like that. Boom. Mineral line is good. Look at these 2 extra drones. Send them somewhere new. Good. All my bases are looking pretty good. This base needs gas. Now we can take a second as well to creep. 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 Because you also do want to simultaneously go with your injects. You want to creep spread. There's 3 things you do. Creep. Inject. Check your base counts. For things like upgrades. For things like saturation. Proper saturation numbers. Things like that. Now look at our army. Let's go ahead and hold down the key B on the keyboard for broodlords. I would recommend doing something like this if your opponent does not die. If you're like, you know what? He's just not dying, guys. He just doesn't die. This will be great. This will be amazing. This will definitely help you make your opponent die. So, while we're waiting for this to happen, let's check my bases again, right? Natural, main, third. I saw problems in every base. Here's a tip I can teach you, okay? Here's the tip of the game. If you see you have workers idle over here, and you're like, oh, I have 8 workers idle. If there's no workers idle, it doesn't show anything. Like, the number goes down if they're not idle, if they're moving around or something like that. But anything that's idle is sitting there. If we hit F1 on the keyboard, it selects 1 idle worker. But if you hold Control and hit F1 at the same time, it selects all idle workers. So we can hit Control F1 and move them down to my new base. We can be like, right-click this gas, hold Shift, 1, 2, 3. Click this other gas, boom, hold Shift, 1, 2, 3. Right-click my mineral line. I just properly saturated my entire new base, and I did not... It was not very complicated. It was super basic. Shift can either add or remove something out of it, and Control F1 can grab all idle workers. It's convenient as hell. Next, let's go back to our natural. Look, oversaturated. Let's shift 2 drones out. Let's go to our third. 2 drones oversaturated. Let's shift them out. Send them down here as well. Good stuff. Good stuff. We just fixed our economy. Now, let's take our army and move it right here. Army's going to go right here. And this time around, this is the only time I would not say shift A move everything until it all groups up outside of his base. Just go here and like chill. The reason why is because hydras are way faster than broodlords. Hydras are way faster than broodlords. And now while this is moving, let's do one more time of inject. 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 Creep. 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 And upgrades. Let's get an upgrade going on this. Let's get an upgrade going on this. Let's get an upgrade going on this. We just upgraded Carapace for air. Carapace for ground. And now we have also upgraded... Sorry, wrong one. We upgraded range weapons for ground as well. So hydras are getting upgraded and broodlords are getting upgraded. And now that my army's grouped up together... Now let's just make this really basic and do this again. Select everything. A. Click. Hold shift. Click. 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 Forget about it. Go to bases. Shift. Sorry. Inject. 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 Creep. 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 And now look at the number on the left side of the screen again. See that 6? Do the same thing we just learned. Control F1. It selects all idle 6. And then we can even see there's extra drones here as well. Let's just hold shift and green box over some of them. Move them down to the new base. When we do this as well, let's just take another base. Let's go over here and like start a hatchery, maybe even start a hatchery over there too. Now, let's just go. Don't even bother looking at my army right now. Let's just make another round of units. Hold H, 5SH. Let's just make another round of hydras. And we just maxed out like that. If you remember that keyboard repeat delay thing I showed you in the very first video, that's why that was so fast. That's when if you had an APM counter, we would have just hit about 1,000 APM right there for about 2 seconds because of how fast the commands were repeating to make hydras. And then we can once again check our base, be like, yo, what's up, base? How's it going? Okay, we got some more injects that need to be done. This is Zerg. This is Zerg life. Injecting a lot. Once you get really fast at it, this doesn't take very long, but this is very important. And now we can be like this. Okay, base counts. 6 extra drones. Grab them off. Base is good. Base is out. 4 extra drones. Grab them off. 8 extra drones. Grab them off. And then we can be like, click this, and we're down by 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right click another base. And now this base will have perfect saturation. And now the guy is still not dead. So 5SH. Hold it down again. We just maxed out on Hydras again. He's still not dead, guys. This game is going the fucking distance. Control F1. Grab all his 4 drones. Control F1. All 4 drones are grabbed. Send him over here. We can make 2 gases as well. And now Hydras are about to be done. We can start upgrades. We got level 3 Carapace on the way. We got another Carapace on the way on the Spire. Select my whole army. Once again. Aim. Like, you know, let's do this. Let's do open bases, okay? Let's just do open bases. Let's go from the opposite side this time. A move here. Shift. A move. Shift. A move. Click. Click. We went opposite this time. He's actually going BCs. So, whatever happens, happens. And now that I know he's going air units, we'll just stick to chrono boosting. Or, sorry, in chrono boost. Fucking chat, red chat. We're going to stick to injecting, and we're just going to make Hydras now. So, I'm literally just going, I'm holding H right now. All my hatcheries are rallied to, like, right here. I have, every single time I make one, by the way, I click it and shift 5 it. We can actually make some gases here. We're just making sure our base looks good. We can even take this base again because it died. 5SH. Look at my supply. Every time a Hydra dies, it gets remade, 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 remade. Okay, inject, inject, inject. A drone, 9 idle drones. Control F1, send them to the new base. Make a gas. Hydras are doing great. Well, since we just injected as well, creep, creep, creep. What's my drone count? 80. Let's make like 4 more. Good to go. 80, 84. Boom. And now, let's do it again. We have a bunch of new Hydras just sitting here because a lot of our Hydras died previously. Select all army. A move. Shift. A move. Shift. A move. Shift. A move. Inject again. Inject. 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 GG. And that is Zerg, guys. Zerg is literally just it again. Composition isn't the biggest of deals. I was just making just Hydras, except for one time. Like I made roaches to start a little bit because you can't make Hydras that early. I made Broodlords one time because he wasn't dying to my attacks and like his bases did not get killed. But then my future attacks after that, after I made the Broodlords, I noticed I actually wiped out a base. Like his base disappeared from the minimap, which means that he either lifted it off and flew away or he literally died. So we would just made it easy and we all right, let's go back to Hydras, Hydras, Hydras. If our army kept dying against his base, we could have made more Broodlords again, like another round of like 12 broods and done it again. But let's just look at a couple of the fights, okay? This is what a couple of these fights look like. This was our first fight. Not the greatest, right? Not the greatest. Yeah, Brendan Stash, thank you very much for the sub, dude. Welcome back. Not the greatest fight. We'll speed it up now in ×8. We'll see the next one. Like, a lot of these fights are going to be terrible, but here's the big one, okay? This is the stat we do really care about. If you're in a replay and you hit I on the keyboard, it stands for income. This is the stat we care about. We are always mining a lot more than our opponent, which means we can throw units away repeatedly, and as long as we just keep macroing, we should always come ahead of our opponent. Because if our opponent, again, you know what this is? This is this right here. Learning priorities. Learning priorities, guys, up here. That is the priority. The priority is proper economy, production, and management. The priority is not micro. The priority is not, you know, splitting your army apart and doing things like that are, you know, time consuming. The priority is macro and developing habits up here, which is right under that. The habits we're developing is teaching you to the most important thing of all the entire time is it's the process of going inject my bases, spread my creep, and then the whole 5SD, 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 5SR, 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 5SH, 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 5SH. It's really basic when you break it down like this. And here's the crazy thing. You don't even have to look at your hatcheries to do any of this except inject. So when you do bounce around your bases like this, like you're injecting, but my point is you could even do something like this. Oh, I'm going to spread my creep now. I'm going to spread my creep. I'm going to literally move my camera here, click this tumor, make it with another spot right here. The second you make this tumor, your camera could still be right here, and you could go 5SH, 5SD, whatever, and you will spin your larva without even looking at your base. So you should get in the habit of interchanging and intertwining your tasks you do, where it's like inject 5SD, creep 5SD, move my camera to my natural to check my upgrades 5SD, make a fucking spire 5SR, whatever you're ready to make. And the idea is, the overall idea is we want to go to about 80 to 85 drones ASAP. Like that is the overall goal. There's only one time when we disregard that a little bit, and that is the second our roach warren is done and we are starting our third base, we make one round of roaches and then we go right back to drones, and it's easy peasy. It's just, yeah, spinning your larva is so important, so important. Okay. Game 2 coming up right now. Gotta spin that larva, boys. Minus 267. Don't look at that. Bronze is brutal. But to be fair, if he loses 267, look how much I just won, okay? You get a win and suddenly you're back in the game. Okay. Okay. Make that drone. Make that drone, boys. Yo, Resolution, thank you very much for the sub. Welcome back to the VFam. Dude. Alright, guys, check this out. I'm going to teach you another command right now. The command I'm going to teach you right now is shift command. Shift command. If you, with Zerg, do a shift command, or with any race, or this works with any race, but a shift command is like this, okay? If I hold shift and I issue a command, it adds a queue of commands if I add more in after that if I'm holding shift. Just like the attack thing I just showed you last game. But I can also move with it. And you can do other things with it too. But with Zerg, it's not as impactful as other races because usually you can't do building shift commands because when you build something, your drone gets sacrificed and it becomes the building itself. That's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, shift commands is great. It's amazing. They're nice. I'll if I do use shift command with my workers at all, I'll be sure to tell you guys about what I'm doing with it. Anyways. So once again, what we're doing, 5SD, 5SD, 5SD. You guys know how it all goes. You guys know how this goes. Look, my overlord's still going on these shift commands. Damn, dude. Make a gas at 20. So 17, 18, 20. Again, I'm just going to throw this out there. Build. If you mess it up a little bit, it's totally fine. The only thing you don't want to mess up is your larva. Which is why if you go, even if you don't have larva out at all, if you just go 5SD. I'm doing it right now. 5SD, 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 5SD. I did it like 4 times. Right there, nothing happened. But then on the 5th time, something did happen. And that 5th time was I finally made a drone because I was waiting for larva to spawn. But if you just get in the habit of doing this, every time a larva does spawn, you will always use it. You will never just let larvae sit there by being like, oh, whoops, I have like 9 larvae on my hatcheries. I didn't realize. Because the hatchery does stop producing larvae at 3 larvae per hatchery, and the only way you get larvae beyond that is with a larva inject. So, yeah, it's very important to spend your larvae as you get them. Very, very, very important. Okay, so build again. 2 queens out. First hatchery, the main hatchery, becomes a layer immediately. Second hatchery starts a 3rd queen. 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. We are developing those habits right now and learning those priorities. All right. So now we have, we're getting a bit of a bank rolling in our bankroll here. Let's go ahead and throw down a roach warren. Let's also throw down 2 gases and 5 SD that crap right now. Inject. Inject. And now we have a 3rd queen, so guess what we're going to start doing? We're going to start creep tumoring. 5 SV. Because look, we're getting pretty close to supply blocking. Let's even make 2 overlords right now, because we're getting really close to supply block. So we're just, again, we're kind of really 5 SDing this right now, and we're just more or less staring at our injects from our queens, which is 25 energy per inject. Inject just happened. We're good to go. And good stuff. Now we can make, this is when we make 8 roaches. We have fully saturated 2 bases because I calculated the drones. I made enough to saturate it with +1. So now we're going to make, we just made 3 roaches. We're going to make now 4 or 5. Our goal is, we're looking around 8 roaches, okay? Meanwhile, we're also going to take one of these drones, which is the 1 XS, and we're going to send it to our 3rd. So we've saturated 3 gases, 2 mineral lines, and now now our goal is to make 8 roaches roughly. If you make 6, if you make 5, if you make 11, those are all fine. I don't care. Like, it's not the end of the world if you make a little bit less or a little bit more. Just don't make like 40 roaches. And now that we have our roaches that we made, we can get our upgrades going, and we can go right back to 5 SD. Click this hatchery, hold shift, hit 5. It's now we have 3 hatcheries in our control group. Rally all of them to this mineral patch. Rally all of them again to like out here. So the drones go to this patch. The units go to this one, because the red means drone rally point. The white means unit rally point. And now we're just making drones. Again, we don't care. This is too early for scouting. This is too early for reactions in terms of skill level. Just get used to making drones. Make some overlords as well. And now our drone count is looking a lot better. It's on our 3rd. Let's go ahead and even take another base, because we're going to speed it up a little bit this time from last game. Last game we didn't make a 4th base until we had like 40 drones on our 3rd almost. This time we'll make another base as we know it's being saturated. And then here's a tip. If drones are running away like this, you can click on them and hit C and return the stuff. Okay. And now we can make a hydrogen. We can start our buildings, our gases and stuff. And now we have 3 fully saturated bases, right? All of it. We have drones and whatever it's called. Drones and on gases and drones on gases and minerals. So inject, inject, inject. He's got his army here. Let's select all army and just move over to this direction because it's attacking me and I can see that. I don't give a fuck about looking at it, guys. Really don't. If you're looking at it in your own game, stop looking at it. Okay? Stop looking. Let's take another 4th base again. Don't let someone attacking you disrupt your macro. Okay? Like, look at that. It doesn't matter. Now, again, our goal is like 80 drones, right? Now, I will say this. If you did look at it and you're like, shit, I really need more roaches, you can make some more roaches. But don't tunnel vision it. Like, you need to spend your larva, right? You definitely not waste your time staring at things that don't matter. And if you once again have a situation where it's like, oh man, my money's getting high again. Screw it, dude. Throw down a couple of hatcheries. For every 1,000 minerals you have, throw down a hatchery. Call it a day. And then replace those drones in the middle lane that you just took them off of. And try to go for like 84, 85 drones. And now, look at my drone count, 84, that's good enough. Let's go ahead and throw down an infestation pit. So we can go to Hive with upgrades and also a second Evo. And inject, 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 creep, 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 make hydras. Can also saturate this gas. Keep making hydras. Inject, inject, inject. Creep is not ready. All we're doing is injecting and creeping. We're not caring about so many things right now. There's nothing really we need to worry that much about, because if we just macro properly, it all becomes irrelevant. Like, we're just gonna win at that point. So we're just making hydras. Making hydras. Making hydras. We're just keeping it super simple. We can stick another base too. Why not? Because we're running out of place to put my drones. Like, we're mining out here. It's not, you know, whenever you have fully saturated bases, it's never a bad idea to take another base. Why is macro auto win? Macro is auto win because if we look at the replay right now, I guarantee you my supply around this timer is 183 and my opponent is probably around 90. Because my opponent is probably thinking about a lot of things, being like, how do I want to attack? What do I want to attack with? Should I do a timing of Ravagers and Zerglings? If I do that, how should I, like, where should I do it from? And should I send it in this way or that way? Should I do this? Should I do that? And all we're doing is going priorities. Inject. 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 Creep. 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 5SR, 5SD, 5S, etc. All we're doing is spinning our larva. It's the whole game, the whole point. And now, you know what? Fuck it. A, move his base. It's Zerg. He doesn't have walls like the other races do. Literally, select your whole army. A, click where his base is. Every map is a mirror. So if we started in top right, he's going to start in bottom left. And the way you can tell is like, oh, this is my natural. This is the third. This is the way the map is lined up. If the map looks the exact same on the opposite, that's the way his base is lined up. Every map is always a mirror, the way it's designed. So now we can go into a Greater Spire. Look at the supply. When I said we were like at 180, I said he probably would be around 90. Okay? And this is just because of macro. It's because of macro. So let's see what he's probably at. He's at 70. This is why, if you don't fucking just get caught up on being like, oh god, units. Oh no. I'm getting attacked. If you just build things, suddenly you get a lot of things. We are maxing out a lot. I kind of wish I would have changed my graphic. This graphic is more for Protoss and Terran, I think. I think Zerg is definitely a lot faster with the maxing. But yeah. The whole point is your build. I think a lot of people also get really stressed out about builds. And they have this OCD where they're like, build has to be perfect. Build has to be perfect. Like, they think that the reason why they're falling behind is because instead of a 17 spawning pool, they made an 18 spawning pool. And they're like, I fucked the build up. Damn it. That's not good. That is so minor compared to just build stuff. Just make things. And with Zerg, it's 5SD. Inject, inject, inject. 5SD. 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 That's the only thing that matters. Because if you have... The better problem to have is going, oh my god, I have 2,500 minerals in the bank. That problem is way better than going, I have no money. I have like 400 minerals and 200 gas, and I'm at 12 minutes in the game and I barely have anything. Like, it's just, I'm mining an economy off of like 40 drones. Which, look what he is. He's 35. Look at that income. Look at the gas. I am mining like 6 times more gas than he is, or like 5 or 6 times more gas than he is, and I'm mining double his minerals, and it's because I have a really good economy. Because I just made drones. We even got attacked, and I didn't micro. I wasn't freaking out. It was just literally like we made the roaches that you always are gonna make, And then we just made drones during it. And if you looked at the army and you went, you know what, I'm dead. Like, this army is actually killing me. You are more than welcome to make more roaches as well. Just know, this is the big one. Just know, if you do end up deciding you do want to make more army, every single unit you make that is not a drone is putting you further behind from where the point where you want to be at. And the only thing that justifies it is if you really need it. That will come from experience, like knowing if you do or don't really need the unit. It'll come from experience. But you really don't want to what's it called? You really don't want to make units when you don't need them, because the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of larvae invested into like roaches sitting there doing nothing, which is what a lot of people do. You want to make units when you need them, or when you're able to afford them, which is like when you're now that. Basically, the point is I'm trying to teach you how to make an economy. That's all it is. Proper investments. It's very important. Rename replays. I'll rename the replays when this segment's over. When I'm out of the league we're in, I'll rename all of them at once, so that way I'm not taking too long between games. For now, at least. I'll probably rename them as I go later on. So again, 5SD, guys. 5SD. I am doing all 3 races. All 3 races. 5SD. Click the hatchery, shift 5. Now, my hatchery hockey has 2 hatcheries. 5 is my unit producing thing. It's got both. I will make a pool at 18. Big drone. Just look at the minerals, really. That's the main one. Like, every single time we can make a larva, we do make a larva. And the minerals just start ramping up really fast because of this. Yo, Eldic, thank you very much for the 2-month resub. I like how 1 mech push out equals instant promotion, but Zerg has to work its ass off. Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, you have boys, 5SD. Rally the hatcheries to my other base because we have 19. If you do 19 minus 3, that is 16, and 3 goes on the gas. So perfect saturation. Boom. 3 gas, 16 minerals, we're good to go. Double queens, 5SD, and we made 1 overlord. Also, here's a tip. When you make overlords, it could be like 5, I'll do another one right now. 5SV. While you have the egg selected, you can click somewhere on the map like this and fill in the gaps. This way it rallies the egg to a location where you will then have scouted later on, and you can then forget about it. Go back to 5SDing your ass off. It is a great tip for you, for any Zerg out there that wants to not have 30 overlords in a clump right here, and instead you want to have a nice spread of vision along the map. Good tip. So, inject. Our queens just spawned. Make a 3rd queen. Make a layer. 5SD. 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 Getting a lot of money now after all these 5SDs. Our money's ramping up fast because we're being really efficient with our larva. Make a roach horn. Just make a roach horn. 5SD. Our inject just popped off. Let's take a gas at our natural. And since we're also injecting, let's also creep spread. Do you always need to wall? Don't worry about walls right now. Walls do not... like, you can build wherever... like, you might build it here. I'm going to build an Evo there. Roach horn is there. It's fine. You don't have to worry about walls in bronze. Walls in bronze are irrelevant. Saturate my gases. 5SD all the way to 48, which we're at now. 48 supply is perfect. And now we can make roaches. Overlord. Like, we're always making overlords. Like, 1 periodically. And we're now starting to make roaches, and we can take one of my drones and send it to the third base, just like before. And we just injected, and we can also creep spread. Upgrades for the roaches. Make another, again, we're going up to like 8 roaches. 10 roaches. Inject. Inject. Make a couple more roaches.
We require more minerals. We require more minerals.
And yeah. We'll time it out. I'll wait to do my next group tumor until the next inject happens. And roaches are fine. Roaches are good now. And now we take all of our hatcheries. Once again, click this hatchery. It's the new hatchery we just made. Click it. You're selecting it. Shift 5. Now it's in my number 5 control group with all my hatcheries. So 5SD. Inject. Inject. Creep. 5SD. Creep. Creep.
We must place that on creep.
And now that our third is being saturated, let's grab 2 of our drones. We do this all the time. 2 of our drones. Just green box all of them. It doesn't matter. VH click. BV click. I just made a hydrogen and a second evo chamber. And even if I was selecting 4, it doesn't change anything if I tell 2 of them, if I say build 2 buildings. It has a smart command that'll make 2 drones go build those buildings. It won't make all those drones try to do it. So a lot of people, when I see them play the game, they have this thing where, and it's the same thing with injecting too. I can inject the hatchery like this, okay? Check this out. I'll give you an example. A lot of people, they try to be really precise about everything. And you gotta know that you can be a little bit wild with your mouse, because let's just say I go to my natural, okay? I go, I want to inject this hatchery. Instead of going like this, click, click, I can go like this, click. Even though I have overlords and drones selected, I could still say, I want you to inject that hatchery. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything to the drones. The only thing that'll move the drones now is if I right click over here or something and make them all move command somewhere else. Alright, let's take another base. Inject. Inject. And get the screen up here to inject. Let's take upgrades. Upgrade. 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 Let's make another round of drones. We're gonna, again, our goal is to go to 80. And look at my money right now, okay? I can't spend any more larvae right now. I'm like, oh man. My larva is maxed. The larva is maxed, boys. So, what do I do with it? Look at my minerals right now. We have 1,600. That's over 1,000. Let's just make 1 hatchery. While we're still making drones too, like 84. And now we have 84. And look, my money, it's still over 1,000. Let's make another hatchery. If you have 2,000, 2 hatcheries. If you have 3,000, 3 hatcheries. If you have 4,000, 4 hatcheries. Just do this as fast as you can. And for every 1,000 you have, throw down another hatchery. And you can put them all in your main. Doesn't matter. And then when you make them, green box them or click them one by one. It doesn't matter. But select them. Shift 5. And you want to make sure all your hatcheries are in the same group. And then once you have all your hatcheries done and all that stuff, 5. And you're at 84, 85, 83, whatever. 5SH. 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 We're just making drones then. Okay, let's take another base, because oversaturation, we're looking good. Take another base. You can never really expand too fast. In general, if you have a good economy. The priority is, overall, you just want to be able to spend your larva. So, I would say that the one time when you would be, I guess I would say, you're expanding too fast, is if you are like, I never have any money. I got 24 hatcheries and I have 0 minerals all the time and I have 50 larvae. Well, okay, you probably went a bit ham on the hatcheries then. I want to throttle back a bit. Okay, we're going to make 3 drones. And here's another tip too. Let's say you select larva. These are all drones right now. I selected 4 larva and I get DDD. 3 drones. You can click the gas like this if it's done. And it will make the drones mine the gas as they're building. I'll do it again right here. I'll show you. 5S. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just made 6 drones. Click a gas. I can shift click 1 out, but then egg shift to the bottom, like this. 2, 3, click this gas. I just saturated 2 gases. And I don't have to worry about it anymore. If you want to do it like that as well. I do that shit all the time. All the time. 5SH. We're maxed out. Let's go into a hive. Let's go into also, we're going to get 200 gas and we're going to make a spire. Spires are great with the hive. They're amazing because it gives us the ability to potentially make a broodlord. And let's look at my economy. 1 drone over. Perfect. Perfect. 4 drones over. And send them all here. All the excess drones. Good stuff. Now let's suck my whole army and let's go like this. I don't know what race I'm against. Protoss. Whatever. Shift. So A. And my target here is now like this. Hold shift. Click. 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 Cool stuff. Protoss can also wall off. So it's never a bad idea to do this. Now let's go to our bases and go inject. 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 And then natural. Inject. Hold shift. Inject. 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 Creep. 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 And we're good, right? Priorities. That is your priority right now. It's not looking at your army. It's not watching the fight. It's making sure your shit is upkeeped well. And we'll look at this really fast. Look at the situation. So we're doubling supply right now. Because we... so he's going Sky Toss. Doesn't matter what he's going for. We don't care about that. We don't care about scouting compositions yet. We don't care about any of this stuff. All we care about is properly making an economy. And that's what our fight looked like. Our opponent was also being greedy. He had 64, like, look at his economy. It's not the worst. He's got 64 probes. That's not bad. But we definitely prioritized our drone count really hard. Up to 80 plus. And then suddenly we're good. 1 DT equals ViBE loses. I'm going to tell you right now. This is something that a lot of people, again, don't understand. If a guy showed up with 1 DT, okay, and I lose, here's all you got to do. 1 DT shows up. I A-move his base. Oh, if I have a maxed army and I A-move his base, do you think 1 DT is going to kill everything? His base will die before my army dies. Secondly, if I know there's a DT, if I'm like, oh god, he's swiping my drones, I have multiple options. Number 1 is I can make an overseer and just make more units to kill the DT. The second one is I could literally just let a base die. If you know how long it would take 1 DT to kill a fully saturated base and the hatchery and the queen? Probably like 2 minutes. And then in those 2 minutes, I could make spine, spore, spine, spore, spine, spore at other bases. It doesn't do anything. Dark Templar, yeah, DT is Dark Templar, by the way. It's a unit that Protoss can make that is a cloaked melee unit that does a decent amount, like pretty good amount of damage every time it attacks. But the thing is, it's permanently cloaked unless you have detection. The biggest thing is don't panic because again, you know what panicking does? Panicking, shit, I should probably move these down a little bit. The text up here gets fucked up with these stats when I go into a replay. But learning priorities, I'm going to tell you right now, panicking is not a priority, okay? Panicking is not one of our priorities, guys. Second thing, developing habits. If you're someone who develops a habit to panic, you need to change that shit right now. Who cares if 1 DT shows up? Think calmly about what you can do about it. And there's so many options. So many options. And one of the easiest ones is literally grab an overlord, make an overseer out of it, which is, this is a detector. It takes 12 seconds to make this thing. Make an overseer. And again, like, remember, if you remember what I said, it takes about 2 fucking minutes for like 1 DT to probably kill a base. So if we're comparing 2 minutes to 12 seconds, it's a pretty big difference. And then once you make an overseer, just go deal with it. Just like send the overseer to it, make some units come to it as well, like maybe like 10 roaches or something, or 10 hydras, in case there's more there, and you're fine. Easy peasy. One of the things that a lot of people will not realize until you... I think a lot of people, what they will not realize is that unless you are someone who really understands the StarCraft 2 economy, like for instance, I understand it and I'm trying to convey it, but whenever I talk to people who don't understand it, a lot of people don't realize how big of a difference there is between someone who does and does not macro. There's a enormous difference. Like, for instance, I've heard people say, ViBE, aren't you worried about, like, air units killing you early? What's up, dude? And the answer is no. Like, a lot of people are like, ViBE, aren't you worried about, like, one Banshee showing up and just ending the game? Like, it's the same thing again as, like, the 1DT comment. Like, 1DT does not suddenly kill, like, a Zerg who's fully established. Because you can actually... And here's probably one of the ways I can try to describe it that might enlighten people and make a lot of sense. Even if I didn't even deal with the unit, if I was like, oh look, there's a DT in my base and he's killing drones. Okay, let's just say that for the next the DT shows up at minute number 7, and for the rest of the game he's going to be killing drones the whole time. From that point on, I could actually make drones faster than they die the entire time. If that makes sense. So being afraid of something like a little bit of harass from your opponent who is investing his time into being harassing and not into macroing, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't even matter one bit. It should actually make you feel good because you're like, well, I'm just playing someone who is like the most aggressive person ever who doesn't actually have a proper kind of build going on for himself. He just fucking attacks with little ragtag armies. That is the hardest thing for people to understand at low leagues. But it makes a lot of sense once you do understand it. Like, you just out macro people. Even if you lose units, if I'm mining 5 times the rate you are, I can make those units and more easily. Still over you. You know what I mean? That's just really how it works. Okay, boys. Alright. So, same thing again, boys. Same thing again. We're going to be literally, we're at 5SD, 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 5SV every once in a while. Really, all I'm doing is you have all the time in the world right now to look at your supply. When you get close to capping out, like, your eyes should literally be doing this. Check. 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 Repeatedly. And then, meanwhile, while your eyes are doing that, 5SD. 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 Check this. Oh, look, we're close. 5SV. We're also injecting now, so let's do a second one. 5SV. And that's it. And then, check. 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 We're good. On the you know, it's still good. We're good. 5SD. We just made 2 overlords. You just keep checking your economies. Like, obviously, if nothing's really happened in the last, like, minute, you're fine. But later on, we will need to come back to this base and check it out because bases will mine out. And instead of only checking the mineral line 2, you do things like check your queen now as well. Like, okay, how much energy do I have? Do I need to inject? Things like that. And we'll make a Evo chamber, 5SD. Going up to 48 supply. 48 supply. Inject. Inject. 2 more drones. Grab a drone. We're at 48. Take that. Inject. Inject. Look at our supply. It's getting close to maxing out. Or to capping out, rather. Let's make a few overlords. We just made like 3 more. Upgrades. Boom. We saturated our gases. We're good. Queen's about ready to go. 5SR, because now we're going to make those 8 roaches we normally make, or like 10 roaches. Inject, inject, 5SR. Now we're done with that. We just made a good amount of roaches. Go over here, click the hatchery, shift 5, and now we're good. So now let's go back to our hatcheries and start. And also, and then click here once, and then click here once. Like, rally the roaches to somewhere nice. And now we have all our drones rallied to the mineral line, 5SD. Inject. in a couple seconds. 5 SD. Oh, wait, look at this. We're about to cap. So, because we're looking here. 5 SV. We just made 3 overlords. Inject. Inject. 5 SD. Creep at the same time because we also combine creep with this, right? And now that we have drones being made for our next base, let's go like this. Hydrogen. Evo chamber. 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. Let's grab this queen and send it down here to inject. And 5 SD. 5 SD. 5 SD. We didn't start roach speed yet. Let's start roach speed on the upgrade because we checked. Now check. Good. 5 SD. Inject. 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 5 SD. 5 SD. Let's go take another base because, again, we're getting close to fully saturating on that base. Make a new one. And we also just finished up these buildings. Upgrade. Upgrade. We got range and carapace now. And what's our drone count looking like? It's 62. 5 SD. We're not done yet. 5 SD. 5 SD. Inject. 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 5 SD. We're getting close. 5 SV. Overlords. We just made another 3 overlords. Grab drones. Put them on my gas. Let's make that gas too. With a new drone that was rallying down. Upgrade. Done. Get it going on the next one. And let's creep spread here because we kind of neglected creep spread for a second here. But look at my hatcheries. Inject. 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 Let's make 3 drones for this one right here. 5S DDD click. Now we're getting attacked. Okay, so this looks like a juicy attack. I'm not sure if I'll win this, so 5SR. Hold it down once and we're good. That's it. I just did it once. Okay, just once. Now click this hatchery over here. We're about to cap out, so let's make a couple overlords. And now drone counts at 75. How's the roach army going? We look like we're fine. We're right back to drones, right? Back up to like 84, 85. And 85. Now, drone count, or supply count, looking at it's okay, it's decent. Inject. Inject. Queen died, so make a new one. And look at the mirror line, right? We always look at this. Grab like 9 drones off. Send them down here. Gas, gas, new base. Drone count is about to drop by 3 because we just made a couple more drones into buildings. Fix it a little bit. Start making hydras. Supply is almost capping again. So, next overlords. 5SV. Inject. Inject. 5SV. We just made 6 overlords, which is going to cap us out now. Because if you do the math, 6 overlords is 48 supply, because each overlord is 8 supply, and 48 plus 160 is 208. 200 is max, so we know we're capped. So 5SH. 5SH. Inject. 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 5SH. Look at my main. We always look at this. So now, 4 drones. Rip them off. Natural? Good. Third? Good. Fourth? 4 drones. Perfect. Fully saturated base. Okay, and now we are going to get an infestation pit. And drone count's still looking solid. 5SH. 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 Inject. 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 5SH. 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 I know I keep maxing out at 9 minutes. And the reason why is because with Zerg, it doesn't make any sense to not do 5SD, 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 5SR, 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 5SH. It does not make any sense to not do that every like 3 to 5 seconds when you're macroing. If you don't do that, do that. The only reason why you would not max out around this time is because you're not actually doing that. You're sitting there for maybe like 30 seconds at a time, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'll make some units now. And we'll just move his base. Like, select the army. We're going to click at the back of his base right there. Hit his mirror line. And then we're good. And then meanwhile, inject. 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 Zerg just works differently than Terran and Protoss. Honestly. Zerg is a race that if you know how to make larva and use larva, you're really good at it. Zerg gets more complicated later on. Like, I think the macro for Zerg in the beginning is, it's easier to be good at if you just dedicate attention to it. GG! And then look at the income, right? It's like we're maxed out. We're maxed out. We could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, because we had 4,000 plus minerals. Just make some macro hatches just to be on the safe side. But if you guys want to see something, check this out. Okay, I'm gonna use this for an Zaro. I'm gonna use you just for an example. I love you, man. I just want to use an example here to show something. It's larva, okay? Look at larva and look at supply. So glance over here at supply, but I want you guys to look at larva. Watch the little larva tab here. And let's look at how often mine is here and how often his is here. Okay, that's all we care about right now. So far, both players are keeping it down pretty well, right? Neither player looks like they're different than the other. That much. The larva is getting spent at a decent rate for both people. As you notice. It keeps appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. But look at this. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about, though. This is when people fall behind as Zerg. This is very important. So our larva just spawned, okay? We just got 7 at 3:15. It just spawned. Let's look at how long it takes our larva to disappear. This is an inject. It's gone within 2 seconds. 3:15 to 3:17, it's gone. Now let's look at his inject. It just that is an injector that just spawned at 3:22. It was right? Am I right? Yes, 3:22. His inject just spawned. He's got 6 larvae right now. That's an inject. Now, from 3:22, let's look and see how long it takes for this larva to disappear. 3 of them disappeared at 3:30. At 3:29. But there's still 3 larvae there. And then it goes back up to 5. Now it's 6 again. Now it's 9. And then now it just all got spent. That was like 40 seconds of larva just chilling on the hatcheries for a while. Things like that are where you really start falling behind. So again, if you just drone, you force yourself to go drone, 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 drone. That's how you are able to not only spend your initial larva, but that's also how you're able to spend your future larva when you start getting lots of it. Because look at things like this, okay? The spine crawler, for instance. What else has he done that is different? Nothing really. Not too much. Really, all I would say is he made a bit more overlords earlier than he might have needed, and he made a spine. And if he makes this spine really fast, like let's look at when he made the spine. It changes things. Like the faster you do an expense like that, the more crippling it is. Yeah, he makes it right away. The second the natural's done. This is exactly why he's falling behind. This spine is so expensive right now because you sacrifice a big part of your economy at this stage. Plus, it's also just really, really expensive in general. The spine is from your beta GM. That's fine. I'm not. So here's the thing. I am not saying that the spine crawler is the only reason why everything fell apart and it's the most awful thing in the world. But I am saying this is one thing that does make you fall behind. And if you did want to make a spine, you totally could. You totally could. But All I really care about people learning in bronze is just trying to understand how to develop an economy, like habits to do that. This is a different beta jam series than the last one, a little bit, okay? A little bit. We'll talk about spines in future leagues when scouting becomes a thing. Right now, we don't give a shit. We don't even move our overlords. We don't care about scouting. There also could be a thing where if this dude is actually dedicating attention to overlords and going, do you have a natural? Do you have a queen? Do you how many drones do you have? Are you making zerglings? Like if he's trying to decipher what I'm doing, that could also be slowing him down and doing things like making him neglect his larva, right? But now, just here, yeah, we'll go back into what we were looking at before. Look at the larva. The larva will sit for the opponent more often than it will sit for us because we're forcing ourselves to go 5SD, 5SD, 5SD. And it does things that create supply differences. Look at the supply difference right now. Look at the like this just larva just chilling a lot of times. I mean it happens. But yeah, anyways, moving on. My point is the larva's big. Larva's huge. Know how to spend your larva. 5SD. That's the only thing for Zerg that matters right now. And yo, bronze 2. Thank you guys for watching this video. Spend your larva. Force yourself to get in the habit of going 5SD. 5SD. And this is my final thoughts on it, okay? This is my final thoughts. This is a true statement. This is an absolutely true statement. So listen. Listen up. You will lose less games due to the fact that you are going 5SD and dying to situations where you have over-droned. That will happen less often than games that you will lose because you don't have enough economy and you just die to mid-game and late-game situations because you don't have enough stuff. That's literally it. You'll win more often if you just make workers with a proper economy and then overwhelm your opponent, because that's how Zerg works. And that's it. Guys, I will see you in the next league, or in the next division rather. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.